That's a
He
wild stat. I did
Yeah,
not realize that he only lost 3 fucking
2
rounds.
rounds, 2 rounds.
Oh, 2.
Yeah.
Jesus. All right, welcome to another episode of Two Fight Fans. We talk about all things in combat sports. I'm one fight fan, Colin.
And I'm the other Stuart.
All right, so we got a few news that came up, and we have a few other things planned for tonight. But Stu, why don't you start us off? You said you have some news about Dana White and Turki Al Sheikh.
Oh,
Some updates.
news is a pretty generous, term. Let's say rumors. We've got
Rumors.
some hot goss, some tea, as the
Ooh,
kids say. Do they say tea anymore?
I
Is
don't
there a
know.
new thing
Spill
they
the
say?
tea.
Spill the tea, eat the tea, drink the tea, poop the tea out, piss the tea out.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. So apparently, right, there had been they Turkey Outlet Sheik had initially announced that Dana White would be the promoter, or TKO Boxing through Dana White would be the promoter for Canelo Alvarez and Terrence Crawford.
Right.
And then that was supposed to be on Netflix, so they didn't officially announce it, but that is what had been rumored.
Okay. Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
Turkey comes out and says, no, it's going to be Sela, who is the official Riyadh partner, and it's now going to be on DAZN. It's not going to be on Netflix. It's going to be like it's entirely changed, and it seems like Dana White is basically out. And there's been some like issues, and like the TKO boxing is basically dead before it even gets off the ground. Rumors are circulating. Rumors. Who knows if any of this is true? But it could explain something we talked about last time with John Jones and Tom Aspinall. But the rumor is that Dana White and Turki Al Sheikh were having like disagreements about the right way to promote this fight, like whether or not it should be supposedly like a 3-city tour or a 6-city tour, like worldwide promotion for this. Like how big and grand they should go with the promotion overall.
Okay.
And there was disagreements between Dana and Turkey. And then also what had happened is apparently, supposedly, Turkey and Dana met with Netflix to do this, and Turkey had interacted with some of the female executives there in ways that were they found unprofessional and unbecoming, and so decided, yeah, we're not going to work with you. We're Netflix. We're the only successful streaming service on the planet. You can go fuck yourself. We don't need this boxing match. We're totally fine without that. And apparently, the meeting went so poorly, and they were so put off by Turkey that just by the kind of association between Turkey and Dana, they have now apparently kind of pulled the plug on the UFC going to Netflix.
Oh.
And part of the rumor about the UFC going to Netflix was, we don't have a pay-per-view model. We'll just pay for the content. So you just need to bring the content
Right.
overall, right? It's
Which I
not
was
going to
actually a
be.
big fan of. I was all for
Yeah.
that.
So apparently that means that because there had been rumors that ESPN and the UFC were like basically very unhappy with each other
Yeah.
overall, and the UFC seemed to like stop really caring about pay-per-view buy numbers, and that pissed off ESPN because ESPN was like apparently losing money on the contractual agreement that they have between the UFC for their pay-per-views.
Mhm.
Um, and so now, without Netflix as a major streaming partner, you basically have to go back to ESPN, DAZN. You have to have your own, which I guess they could go to Fight Pass, um, or they need to go to like Amazon or something. But what this all
Oh.
means is probably because Amazon sells pay-per-views. Now the pay-per-view model probably will stick around, um,
Ugh.
and they need to make a big one by the end of this year in order to like show prospective partners, hey, we can still sell big number pay-per-views. Don't worry. Smash cut to
They need to do
John
that
Jones.
before. They're gonna need to do
Yeah,
that before because a deal needs to be signed before the end of the year. Because starting in 2026, they don't have any streaming, right? There's no one
exactly.
has the rights.
And so is it something where that's why they haven't stripped John Jones? Because it seems like all points, including John Jones on camera saying, I'm done fighting, point to him not wanting to take this Tom Aspinall match. And since the UFC has so systematically destroyed any chance for there to be star-making performances, they gave up the Ilia Topuria Islam Makhachev fight They haven't been recruiting talent at the same level. Alex Pereira is disgruntled, and even his pay-per-views apparently were not selling super well. They were close to like the $300,000 mark.
Mhm.
The John Jones Stipe one apparently sold like close to 600,000 or 600,000 plus on pay-per-view. So are they going, oh shit, if we had secured that Netflix deal, we probably would have just stripped John Jones. But now we have to make the biggest pay-per-view we can. And the only option we really have, because Connor's not coming back, is to do John Jones versus Tom Aspinall, even though John Jones basically has said he doesn't want to fight anymore. And all of this comes from the kerfuffle with Turkey and Dana overall.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That if that's true, that is some juicy, juicy, juicy goss. And
I only bring you the juiciest, my man. I know how you
yeah,
like
and
it.
that's a like borderline conspiracy theory, but I buy it. I fucking buy it, man. Like
Well, hold on.
Jesus.
Okay, hold on. These are all rumors that like I see half on Blue Sky, half on the cesspool that is Twitter, half that is in YouTube videos by people who also claim it's rumors. Like, so who knows? But I think that you can see these indications that would at least lend some veracity to this, right? Like the
Yeah, I
fact
mean
that they
it
haven't
makes
stripped John
sense.
Jones.
You don't have
Yeah,
to squint that hard to think like, yeah, this is a possibility, you know?
yeah, yeah.
But
It's
like
it's
I'm just shocked that like Dana White wasn't the fucking like person to set things off, because he is a very brash personality. So
yeah, but he knows how to play the game. I think, right? Like he knows what to say and when to push and when not to push. Like he's as much as he's like a dickhead and like kind of like an asshole, like it's the same thing with like other like high level CEOs, right? They're dickheads and assholes, but they know how to play the game. And
sure,
like
sure.
I don't think Turkey Al Sheikh, who I, everyone calls him His Excellency, he's not a member of the royal family. Like he's
Right.
just like a bureaucrat. It would be like calling, like, Mitch McConnell Your Majesty. Like, it doesn't make and he demands that people call him that, but, like, Your Excellency is the title afforded to the royal family of Saudi Arabia, and
Mhm.
he's not he's just he's a civil servant, basically. So, like, that's wild. I
Yeah.
learned that, like, the other day, and I was like, "That's fucking wild." Like, imagine, like, I fucking just showed up at my job at the DMV, and I was like, "You will refer to me as Prince?" You'd be like, "What? You need to lock it up, dude." Like, that's crazy. Um, so, yeah. But, yeah, I could imagine that somebody of his power structure and from a specific, hierarchy culture that he has showing up at Netflix and being extremely disrespectful and then be like, "Okay. Well, you can go have fun. We literally don't need you.
Yeah.
We are
Yeah.
they're the only streaming service on planet Earth that turned a profit last year. Everyone else was in the red. Like they are we talked about like streaming wars. It was such a big conversation like in 2010 to 2015. And it's like it wasn't like a close battle. It's like it was the the unequivocal winner was Netflix. And so they're like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, we're fine. We'll wait for another Jake Paul fight against, we'll dig up the corpse of fucking Muhammad Ali and we'll like attach electrodes to it and he'll box that. Or, whatever he's gonna do. Maybe he'll box Canelo Alvarez after this. Like who's to say? Like they'll just wait for that. Uh,
I
yeah.
really deep down wanted the fucking Netflix deal to happen though. I really, really wanted it.
Yeah, I think it would have been good. Yeah, because like the ESPN Plus, the app sucks. Like the model that
Yeah.
they have with 41 or 42 events a year, and then these pay-per-views, like I mean, I will be interested to see because the thought process was that Netflix wasn't going to buy all of the content. They would only want like maybe one piece of content a month. So like where else would it go? But now like without that, like is it going to be on DAZN and Amazon Plus and then ESPN and like a bunch of these other services that no one has, and so you got to go buy these just for that? I wonder what that'll do. I mean, we keep talking about like the erosion of the fan base overall and like how like longtime fans are leaving because of many things, including like the turn to MAGA politics and all this shit. But like, if you also balkanize the product that much, so that I mean, we lived through the Fuel TV, Spike TV, Fox Sports One, Fox Sports Two, where you always had to be like, what channel is this piece of content going to be on? but at
Yeah.
least you could just buy a cable package and find the channel. Now you
Mhm.
gotta sign up for, like, 30 other things. Anyway, that's the goss. That's the juicy hog goss for you.
I do like that. That's
Yeah,
good.
yeah. And then there's more goss. Well, not actual gossip, like actual real, confirmed story that has, like, been reported on and
Yeah.
and is real. Ilia and his brother have left their longtime coaches
Yeah. Yeah.
5 weeks away from
From
his first lightweight fight and a lightweight title fight against former champion Charles Oliveira.
yeah.
Colin, what are your initial thoughts on this?
Not great. Yeah, I mean, like, like, look, I'm not gonna say that everything Topuria has achieved is because of his coaches, but fighting is a partnership in that. Like, a coach needs a fighter to actually like gain acclaim and to actually win something, but a
Mhm.
fighter needs a coach. You need to I mean, we talked about it about what with who? Was it Benoit Saint Denis or who was it that is like
Oh,
his
yeah,
own
Benoit
coach now?
Saint-Denis, who does not have a coach. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like when you're your own coach or if you get new coach, like when you have a longtime coach, they know you better than yourself. So they know your strengths, they know your weaknesses, they know what you're going to do, what you're not going to do. So they can tailor your training and they can build you up properly.
Mhm.
If Topuria is now getting together with new coaches or whatever, and from what I hear, it seems like it was an amicable split between him and his coaches. They both said like everything's good, we have a good relationship. It's just that Topuria wanted to like be at home, basically. He just wanted to train in Madrid, apparently.
Yeah, because he
So
moved to Madrid,
yeah.
from where his hometown was, and, like, I mean, I didn't know this. I was listening to a Luke Thomas, podcast, and he, is speaks Spanish and reads, like, direct reports from Spanish media, and he was saying that, like, the closest equivalent to how popular Tapuria is, like, minus a lot of the controversy that of these people and names, like, but, like, he's, like, almost like a Tom Brady or like a LeBron James or like a Tiger Woods
Is he
in Spain.
that big in Spain?
He is
Jesus.
apparently absolutely ginormous, and so being in Madrid is a lot about being able to build his brand and be a much more public facing, popular, um, like, athlete, right? Rather than it'd be like if LeBron, rather than, like, living in whatever city he lives in most of the time, or Tom Brady, like, being in Boston, was like, "Oh, I live in, like, Plunkettsburg, Pennsylvania, with, like, 5,000 people," right?
Well,
Like, it would
that's why LeBron went to LA. Like,
yeah, yeah, exactly. So it's
you
like
know?
it's apparently to do that, and he's splitting with his, like, longtime head coach and I think jujitsu coach, but he's
Yeah.
still flying out, I think, his same boxing coaches and, like, several of the same retinue of it's just not the, like, head gym, owner. So,
Yeah.
like, the equivalent would be like if, maybe John Jones parted ways with Greg Jackson, but then still had the same striking coach, Dewey Cooper, still had the same jiu-jitsu coach. Like, it sounds a little bit more akin to that than
Okay.
an entire, like, "Hey, I'm leaving Greg Jackson's camp to go to, like, American Top Team, and I have to, like,
Yeah.
relearn everything." But maybe, I don't know. I don't know exactly the specifics of what his coaching staff who has gone with him. But, yeah, it is essentially, like, he has his own home gym and big mansion in Madrid, and he's like, "You come to me when it's time to do fight camp. You come and fly out here and stay with me rather
Yeah.
than I go back to your gym."
But that is, I don't know what his head coach, like the capacity that he is, because different head coaches are some are just kind of like oversee everything. Some have like a direct hand in, you know, like strategy or,
Yeah.
skill development, like Freddie Roach for a long time was like the main guy, for like his
Mhm.
boxers,
Mhm.
but and he had like assistant coaches for other things, but he was the guy who was doing everything, the main guy.
Yeah.
So I don't know what capacity Taporia's head coach was. So if that was the case, if he was a bigger name or had bigger say and bigger influence, that is concerning to me,
Yeah.
and I'm very impressed with everything that Topuria has accomplished, but the whole thing of like, okay, you split with your coach, who's been with you for a long time. You're kind of living it up, in this mansion where you've built out a gym, which, also like to each their own, but there are things that say like when like separation between those two can impact your training and whatnot. but also
Mhm.
just being in the spotlight more. Like you said, kind of being in Madrid where he is building up his name and he's more recognizable or whatever, there are more distractions. So,
Yeah.
and no one is immune to that. So,
Yeah.
like, this is kind of mixing a lot of change and new things for a very like big battle. And maybe he has the skills to back it up. He has the confidence to, but it is one of those things that I am questioning, and it does raise a few alarm bells.
Yeah, I guess, like, the one like or I guess the 1 or 2, like, things that hold me up about that is, like, 1, I don't know a lot about his coach,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I know nothing.
Like, he's got Ilia Topuria, he's got Yoel Alvarez, and he's got Ilia Topuria's brother
Brother, yeah.
as, like, the 3 UFC fighters. Right, we know Henry Hooft and Mike Brown and, I always forget Rose Namajunas' and, Justin Gaethje's head coach, also
Uh,
Kamaru Usman's head coach. What is his fucking name? I can't remember. Or like Eric Nicksick at Extreme Couture. Like we know that those guys churn out. They have enough UFC caliber fighters, and we've seen them enough to go like, oh, they're really good,
yeah.
right? They're like a really good coach. But then you get the occasional coach like, um, uh, what was Connor's? Connor was at the Straight Blast gym, right? And his head coach was named. God, how am I forgetting this shit? My brain is turning into absolute applesauce. Um, or, like Faraz Sahabi and,
Right,
George
right.
St. Pierre, right? Like, Faraz Sahabi really hasn't produced any, like, major, like, contenders. I mean, he
Names.
has Brendan Allen, yeah, but, like, nobody is quite George St. Pierre is not indicative of the success he has. Whereas, like, you look at Henry Hooft, and he had Kamaru Usman, he had Gilbert Burns, he's had like he led the Black Zillions team, so he had Rashad Evans, right? He had all of these fighters, and so you can see
Mhm.
like, hey, routinely that guy can put out really good fighters. Mike Brown had Dustin Poirier and Amanda Nunes and like 15 other fighters that are within the UFC. I think he trained Yan Xiaonan for a bit. Like you know that this guy can do it. But then you have people like Conor McGregor's head coach, who's what the fuck is his name? It
Oh,
is. How do I not remember this? Is it John Kavanaugh? I think it's John
John
Kavanaugh.
Cal
Yeah, John Kavanaugh. Right? We're like Conor McGregor is this amazing person, but then like John Kavanaugh basically he coaches Johnny Walker now. Like,
oh
and so you
boy.
go, well, how much success really came from this specific coach, right?
Mhm.
Like, is this coach actually the right one, or did he just have like a superstar? So I kind of pause and go like, well, like, is this a Faraz Sahavi, John Kavanaugh type situation where you just had like a generational talent happen to be there with you, and so like, even if you were a mediocre coach, they would have accomplished this on their own.
Mhm.
So that's one. And then the other is just like, yeah, I think exactly what you said. Is he still good enough that like it won't make a difference? Like
Yeah.
is whether George St. Pierre went to Faraz Sahabi or he went to John Kavanaugh or he went to Mike Brown, he was gonna be George St. Pierre, right? Conor McGregor could have gone to Mike Brown and John Kavanaugh and a bunch of different coaches, and maybe they would have changed his style slightly, but like he's still
GSP
gonna just
also
be
went to
Conor.
Greg Jackson, right?
GSP, yeah, he would go
Yeah.
he went to Greg Jackson for game planning,
Yeah.
overall. Yeah. Um,
Which is
no,
one of
like, I
his
mean,
best strengths too.
yeah,
So
and he had, like, John Danaher as, like, his submission grappling coach, like, these are all very lauded coaches, but, like, I
yeah.
think Firas Zahabi as an MMA coach, that was, like Georges St. Pierre was, like, the first person he coached in the UFC, and so I think
Yeah.
everyone suddenly then there was this mass migration to, uh, TriStar Gym.
TriStar. Yeah.
Yeah, and then nobody else panned out really at all, like and so it was like, "Oh, okay, maybe it was mostly" right? Whereas, like, I really respect coaches like, I'll call out, like, Henry Hooft or Eric Nicksick, who, like, Eric Nicksick does Sean Strickland, Francis Ngannou, Chris Curtis. He's got, like, 5 or 6 other fighters as well that are in the UFC, and it's like, he can just it's clear that he can just take people of different athletic ability, different weight classes, and, like, guide them towards the top 15. He can get you into the top 15, he can get you towards a title shot. Like, same thing with Henry Hooft. Like, it seems like he's able to he can have Kamaru Usman's, he can have Gilbert Burns's, he's able to have, I'm trying to think of, like, who else is on that team. But he has, like, mid-level fighters, but he gets most of his fighters into the top 15. He can
Mhm.
just take kind of whoever he's working with, and as long as they, like, have the talent, he can get you where you need to go. Whereas, like, Farasahabi seems to, like, really need his fighter to be unique in order for him to get them
Right.
kind of right? So, I kinda think, like, where whatever Ilia goes, like, he probably right, would it be better if he had his own, like, amazing head coach as well? Yeah, sure, but I don't know how much success to attribute to just him or his head coach, and I
Right.
don't know, like, will it even matter in the end,
Mhm.
right? Because yeah, I don't like, like, apparently Conor McGregor, like, basically, like, ran his own fight camps too, right? Like, he was, like, learning, but, like, he controlled the entire thing. Like, he was his own kind of coach, and then he had
Yeah.
staff to help him. So, like, maybe that'll be fine for Ilya. I don't know. Um, yeah, and we also don't know who's replacing the coach, right? Maybe there's an even better coach that got replaced, like, we don't know.
Right.
So,
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
It was just one of those things that was like, that's never. It's not usually a good sign when you change coaching staff like this close to a big fight. You
Yeah.
know? And then when you combine the fact that, like you said, he's, moving to an area where there's more publicity, there's more distractions. Like, we've
Yeah.
seen this dance before many times in combat sports where, like, the attraction of, like, fame and fortune, completely derails you. And it's like, it's a cliche, but it's like you lose that hunger for it, you know?
Mhm. Yeah.
And I don't know. This is lightweight. This is the most competitive division against a dangerous opponent with Charles Oliveira, but you know, I, it, when we see the fight, everything will just tell itself there. But
Yeah.
you
Do
know,
you think it will have an impact? Will it change your like thought on how this fight will go at all?
I don't know. Like, I've been going back and forth so much on this fight. Like, the my instinct says that Ilya is going to win. Because he's just so heavy-handed, and Charles has a propensity for eating a lot of shots and getting dropped and
Mhm.
getting hurt. And he is able to survive long enough to either change it into like an affair where he can get the better of the striking later on because he wears the other person down, or the other person takes like unnecessary risks, or sets them up for submission. But I mean, basically walking into a trap or a lion's den to try to get your win is a very, very scary way to fight against someone
Yeah.
like Ilia Topuria, Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so
I still
I
think
still
it's
don't
gonna
know.
be
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be Ilya in under 8 minutes. I think that's
Yeah,
what's
that's
gonna be.
that's a yeah, I could definitely see that. I could see Ilya winning in the first round.
Yeah. 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 But yeah, definitely interesting, and, like, it's I don't know. We'll see. I think you're exactly right. Like, the story will tell like, the fight will tell us it because either it's going to have a massive impact and we'll be able to notice it instantly, or it'll
Yeah,
have almost no impact at all, and then
yeah,
we're like, "Great, it doesn't even matter." Um, yeah. Alright. Well, there's a bit of rumor there, and then a bit of, like, concrete detail, that we just kinda talked about.
yeah.
What else are we gonna talk about, Colin? You had some ideas for something that you've seen, I don't know where, TikTok or something?
Yeah, just online, social media, everywhere. Of now, people are starting to talk about like, okay, could the goats of various divisions stand up or beat the champions of today? And we kind of talked about this in a few of the divisions, but I thought it'd be good for us to go through each of the divisions and see, one, do we have the same goat in mind? And
Mm,
two, do we agree that they could or could not stand up to the current champion today? And by stand up, I mean still be champion in their
yeah,
prime today. In their prime
got it.
today.
Okay, so we are taking who we assume to be the GOAT in each division,
Yep.
in their prime,
Yep.
in a fantasy matchup.
Between
Who
the current champion.
got it. And when we say GOAT, are we basing that off resume or basing that off of, like, who we think was the most skilled?
Uh
Because I would argue Anderson Silva has a better resume than Israel Adesanya, but I think both in their prime, I would pick Izzy as being more
mm.
skilled.
Well, I think this is a little bit of both because yes, you do have to match up resume, but you have to match up individual skill because Anderson had like in that example, Anderson had great skill, but the people couldn't match up to him at that time. So if you
Mhm,
took him and put his skill against the evolved version now of MMA that's like, 15 years later,
mhm.
like could he still stand up to it? if Anderson was your goat. So
Got it. All right. So we starting heavy? We starting light? Are we starting
let's
at the women's division? Where are we going?
well, okay. I was gonna ask, do you want to do the women's divisions too? Because they're not as
Yeah. I think we
okay.
should go women's division.
Sure. All right. I say let's start with women's and then let's go the opposite direction now. Heavyweight down to the lighter weights. Because we kind of talked about this in our best of times and worst of times, and we
Uh-huh.
ended with heavyweight, and that was fucking depressing. So
Yeah, let's get the sad shit out of the way first. All right.
yeah.
So, we'll start with women's bantamweight then?
Sure. Yeah, I'll start with
All right.
so
Well,
who's your goat for bantamweight?
I mean, come on now. There can be only one. It's Amanda Nunes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in agreement. Good. Okay. Amanda
So
Nunez.
can she beat Juliana Pena? I don't know. I think like 2 years ago I watched her like absolutely shellac Juliana Pena. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm pretty positive. And I like we might get that fight fucking again this year. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
Jesus.
yeah. I mean the thing is like the GOAT. What would be more interesting, I think, for this conversation, at least for this division, is like there is only one other woman that really could be called out as the GOAT if you removed Amanda Nunes, and that's Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
So do we think Ronda Rousey could beat Juliana Pena in a fight if Ronda was at the peak of her power, her confidence hadn't been shattered yet?
And if she wasn't told you're a kickboxer. Like
Yeah,
if
yeah.
she would just like, hey, close the distance, get into the clinch, judoka
Mhm.
that bitch, and then just get to that arm bar. Yeah, she could beat anyone, everyone. Like, but
Yeah.
the moment she's like, nah, yeah, I'll try to trade punches with you. It's like,
I mean,
even then, I think Julia Pena would beat you then.
what? Yeah, I mean, if she stood and traded with Juliana Pena, she would lose. Now here is one thing: Ronda Rousey has what 2 TKO victories, overall. Now one is against Betch Correia, which isn't saying much, but it was a KO in the first round, and
Okay.
it never went to the ground. She just punched her for a whole round.
Okay.
Um, she did KO Alexis Davis in one round, right? That fight
Okay.
never went to the ground. And she KO'd Sarah McMahon in one round, and that was a knee to the body. So, like, she, for the time, she still threw hands and was able to, like, finish people that were number one contenders.
Okay.
Um,
But it
nah,
goes
she would lose to
again.
Juliana Pena.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Come on
yeah,
now.
yeah.
Like,
No, I know. I just, like, I think this idea of, like, oh, suddenly, at the very end when she fought Holly Holm was when she got told she was like a boxer. But like she was being told she was a boxer and like trying to TKO people. Like she very rarely ever was like, I'm really just gonna take you to the ground, except for Katzengano and Misha Tate. Um it like the rest of the time she was trying to like outbox you. And then when people would inevitably clinch up with her, then she would just throw them. It was very rarely like her setting up her throws.
mm,
She would come in, throw punches, hit people. They would be like, "I gotta clinch because I'm getting punched," and then she would take them down.
yeah.
But yeah, I man, I
Regardless,
think
it's
realistically,
Amanda
I'd pick,
Nunez. It's Amanda
I
Nunez.
yeah, it's Amanda Nunes, but I'd pick Juliana Pena probably over Ronda. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, Amanda definitely
Mhm.
could. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, God, now it's another one.
Yeah.
Flyweight. There's only been 2 champions, so it's got to be Shevchenko. And could
Yep.
Shevchenko be the champion today? Well, she already is. So
Yep.
like, yeah, there's the answer.
Yep. There you
That was
go.
quick. Now, the question for the most interesting division, strawweight, is
All
who
right.
do you have as the GOAT of strawweight?
This one's interesting. I mean, there's really only two options. You got the current champion, Zhang Wei Li, and
Mhm.
Joanna Jędrzejczyk.
Yep.
So this one's kind of tough. Um, I like Joanna, for what she did and for the time. I do think Zhang Wei Li has a little bit more diverse skill set. So I'm gonna go with Zhang Wei Li.
Okay. If we assume peak Joanna,
Mhm.
because we saw Zhang Weili and Joanna fight their first time, which I think that fight took so much out of Joanna that every fight after that was like she was a much less version of herself.
Right,
So
right.
if you have peak Joanna, so the person who maybe beat Claudia Claudia Gadelha for the second time, I could see peak Joanna beating um, Zhang Weili.
Mhm.
Because even like at the end of her career, Joanna, she barely lost that blood and guts war with Zhang Weili.
Yeah, that's
Now
true.
Zhang Weili has gotten better, but I'd go with Joanna. I'd go with Joanna.
Yeah. Well, the first time
Um,
they fought, it was also I would say Zhang Weili was kind of still on the up and coming, you
definitely.
know? So, like, her peak was also a little bit after that, so
Yeah, I still think I'm still gonna pick Joanna because Joanna had
okay.
lights out takedown defense. And
Mm.
that seems to be something Zhang Weili has gone more and more to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
If
it
you
would be
got
it
mhm.
peak prime like, prime status Joanna versus prime status Zhang Weili. Yeah, I think that would be a great fight, you know?
Yeah.
I think it'd
That'd
be
be
very
awesome.
even, you know? I think it'd be very close.
Yeah. Like, 'cause if you got because they fought in 2020, but if you got the Joanna from 2016, so, like, with less than 4 years of, fight on under her belt, and these are the fights where she got beat by Rose twice and then had a back and forth fight with Valentina Shevchenko, beat Michelle Waterson, like, this is there was a lot of wear and tear between 2016 Joanna and 2020 Joanna, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's fair.
Alright, let's go to heavyweight, and we have
Oh,
to include
yeah.
Pride. We have to include Pride because we're talking about GOAT of an entire division, not just the UFC.
Oh, okay.
And Pride heavyweight is
Okay.
still the best division.
God,
So,
okay, I didn't even think about that. Okay.
yeah,
Alright. That
and we're
oh,
gonna have to do
god.
it we're gonna have to do it against 2 people. We're gonna have to do it against John Jones, we're gonna have to do it against Tom Aspinall because 'cause they're both champion.
Okay, yeah, yeah,
Neither one
yeah,
of
yeah.
them is undisputed. So the
Yeah,
question is,
okay.
who is the GOAT heavyweight?
I have 2 in mind right now,
Okay.
and, kind of 3. Hold on, I'm thinking about this because now that you added the pride
Okay,
thing
well,
into
say
the
them
mix,
out
that
loud, don't keep them inside.
okay. So,
Share it
I'm
with the
my
4 people listening.
yeah, okay. Fedor,
Yeah, absolutely.
okay. Prime Stipe
Okay.
and Francis
Yeah, I think
Ngannou.
yeah, fuck, I mean, like, I would take Prime Stipe out, um,
Yeah, yeah.
and I'd man, Francis is a good one because it's, like, it's so clear that it's Fedor, but then you go, like, well, if Francis, like, kept fighting,
Yeah, it's
like,
just
it's almost his own inactivity that caused I mean, dude, heavyweight has become the division of inactivity.
yeah.
It's
Yes.
fucking nuts, like, nobody is fighting in that division except the Taffa brothers, Justin and Junior Taffa. Those motherfuckers pop up on every other card, it seems, and, like, I can't tell if it's because they're, like, twin brothers that I'm like, "Oh, wait, is that the same dude that just fought, like, 2 weeks ago?" They're never on the same card either, it's so weird. Anyway, um, okay, yeah, well, let's do Francis and let's do well, okay, hold on. Is Francis more of a heavyweight GOAT than Brock Lesnar was or
Yeah, yeah.
Nogueira? I mean, Nogueira has a bigger resume, but I guess, like, in the era of these massive heavyweights, like, these really super heavyweights okay, we'll do the Fedor and we'll do the Francis fight,
Okay.
okay. Prime Fedor against this version of John Jones.
Yeah.
I think Prime Fedor does it.
I
That would
think
be such a cool fucking fight though, man.
that
Oh,
would be wild to
that would
see.
be dude, Prime Fedor and Prime John Jones at light heavyweight or heavyweight would have been. Dude, chef's kiss, amazing. Maron, like good shit.
And
Um,
that's the thing, that's, like, insane talent versus indestructible force.
yeah. Oh, dude.
Fedor took so much punishment, and it looked like nothing ever phased him,
Yeah.
you
Oh,
know?
dude, and same with John Jones. John Jones is like one of the most sickeningly and like durable fighters on earth.
That's true,
Like,
yeah.
oh god, it would have been that would have been sexy.
Yeah.
But Prime Fedor against this version of John Jones,
Against this
because you're right.
version at heavyweight, yeah.
Yeah. Like, the game has changed so much, but, like, Fedor was so fucking fast. Fedor was
For a
man.
heavyweight, and he was
Yeah.
durable, and he was skilled. He had,
Yeah.
like, a weird amount of skill at heavyweight for the time, you
Yeah.
know?
And I think John Jones has lost enough of a step, and his wrestling has super regressed. Like, he used to be such a lights out wrestler, and now he sucks. Like, his wrestling is bad, and it's only because he's wrestling against Cyril Gahn that no one notices. I think you're right. Prime Fedor against Tommy Aspinall, though.
That's interesting
Yeah,
because
because
Tom Aspinall's young, he's fast.
yeah, there's no speed advantage basically, and he's huge. He's what, 250?
God, yeah, he's big. And
Yeah.
Fedor was what, like, 240?
Like 220, 230.
Oh, so even like yeah, and
Yeah,
that
and he always had a little extra change on him, you know what I'm saying? Like, that boy could have fought, like, at one dude, like, he clearly is the same size and build as Dricus Du Plessis, like, he could have fought at 185 if he wanted to, um, but he was like, "I'll just beat up on these slow ass heavyweights," which, like, good on him. I was like,
Yeah,
I remember, there was an interview with Daniel Cormier, and he was talking about, like, what was it like fighting heavyweight and versus light heavyweight, and, like, why did he wanna stay at heavyweight even when he could cut down to light heavyweight? He's like, "Dude, they're so slow. It's so easy. Everything is so slow. You can see everything coming from a mile away." It's like why he wanted to stay at heavyweight. It's like, yeah, that's makes sense, man.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't it's so hard because we know so little. Like, we've never seen, Tom Aspinall go past 10 minutes. Like,
We've
we've
never seen him
never seen
tested.
Yeah, exactly. God, that's a hard one. But at the same time, we never saw Fedor really fight skilled big heavyweights, right?
Yeah,
Most of the heavyweights of his era were the like Mirko Cro Cop, Nogueira. These were 220, 230 fighters. Even like Fujita, Kevin Randleman. These were smaller heavyweights. I mean, we saw him
Kevin
fight.
Randleman was still pretty big, wasn't he?
I think he was only like 220, 230 as well. I think
Really?
that he
Oh, I
was.
thought he was like 240, 250. He looked big to
Mm-mm.
me.
No, because I think he was only like 6 foot or 6'1". Like The I know he ended up fighting that guy with gigantism. I can't remember, he was, like, 7 feet tall, and he fought Bob
Oh,
Sapp, and he fought, like,
yeah,
these giant goobers, but, like, he never fought, like, super athletic 6'6", 250-pound bricked up dude.
yeah.
Um, so I do wonder what that would have done. I'll go Tom Aspinall. I'll go Tom Aspinall on that one.
Okay,
I don't know.
okay.
Yeah, I have faith.
Yeah.
And now the question is Francis. Look,
Yeah. Oh my god.
and here's the thing, we could have gotten Prime Francis after he beat
Yes.
Stipe against John Jones and Tom Aspinall within, like, 2 years, like, of happening, right?
Yeah,
Like,
we could
the
have.
UFC so fumbled this. We could have seen this. This isn't like a fantasy matchup of, like, what would have been like to see a Roman gladiator against a samurai. It's not like there's, centuries in between these fucking things. It was, like, 24 months apart. They could have
Yeah.
easily had these fights happen.
It
Alright, Big
seems like a
Fran. Is
long time ago that Francis left, but that was literally like 2 years ago.
that right?
I think he left at end of 2022, early 2023.
That's crazy.
Like, it
Now that I
hasn't
look at it.
been that long.
Yeah. Yeah. It's dude, the UFC so fumbled that, and, like,
Yeah,
they're gonna fumble this John Jones one as well.
yeah,
Like, yeah, 2022, you're right. 2022 was his last fight, and then, yeah, he departed in December of that year. So, like, yeah, it was 2.5 years ago? Like,
yeah.
damn, dude. We could have had the John Jones fight. We could have had the Tom Aspinall fight. We could have had an Alex Pereira, Francis Ngannou fight. Um, dude. Alright, so I guess Big Fran from 2021 when he beat Stipe. What do you think about
I think he murders both current John Jones and Tom Aspinall.
I think you might be right. I think you might be right. Yeah, I think so. I think, like, he still is kind of the heavyweight king as much as he's kind of disappeared from the spotlight. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah,
Man. Oh, and what a bummer. Like, we got to see him wrestle Cyril Gahn when he had a blown out ACL, and, like, we never got to we saw him fight Henan Ferreira, but, like, who cares? Like, we did so much of what he kind of reminds me in a weird way of, like, the new version of Cain Velasquez, right? We just were, like, so excited, and we're like, "Oh my god, this guy's gonna be the next heavyweight thing, and he's gonna be the star, and he's gonna do all this stuff," and then he just kept getting injured, and then, like, we just had so much time off that we never got all of the fights and all of the cool tests and all the permutations at the top of the division,
yeah,
that we could
yeah,
have. God. Dude, heavyweight is just depressing as shit.
yeah. That's why I
Um,
wanted to start with it.
yeah, yeah. Alright, let's go down to light heavyweight then.
Yeah,
There
I
can
mean,
be
there's
only
really
one GOAT,
yeah,
and it's Jon Jones.
yep.
Jon Jones in his prime beats
Any
light
current light
heavyweight,
any current light
yeah,
heavyweight. Every
any
one of
any
them.
light heavyweight that's ever competed, basically.
Yeah,
Prime for
yeah,
prime light heavyweight, Jon Jones beats him.
yeah.
Yeah, like, that's
That
that
was a
that
pretty easy one right
yeah,
there.
yeah, it's just, like, he's that good, right? That's why Yeah.
Yeah.
Like in his prime, he was that good. And the division, yeah. Yep. Yep. All right. That's that. uh,
Easy.
yeah.
Middleweight, your favorite
Middleweight.
division.
Now, here's a weird thing, Colin.
Yeah, yeah, no, come on, man.
I'm torn.
Who's your goat? Who's your goat, man?
Dricus Du Plessis beat Robert Whitaker and Israel Adesanya.
I know.
Like, at worst, he's the third best middleweight,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, my GOAT, I think the way that I would talk about it when it comes to like the skill of the fighter is gonna be Izzy.
Okay, okay.
Um, but we could also do the Anderson Silva fight. I think Dricus would beat Anderson at his peak.
Mhm,
Right? We saw Chael Sonnen, like a much cruder version of like a wrestler and like a power wrestler,
mhm.
be able to like basically almost beat Anderson. Like I don't see why Dricus wouldn't be able to do that. The question is, we watched Izzy beat Dricus for basically 3.5 rounds until he just lost. And I don't know how much of that is like, is he definitely being like, on the down spiral of his, career? Like he's definitely a shadow of what he used to be. So the question is like when he was knocking out Robert Whitaker, when he had that blood and guts war with Kevin Gastelum, which I think are actually like that period actually winning the interim title and then the title off Robert Whitaker. I think that's his prime, not anything
Yes.
during his defenses.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would agree.
Would that guy beat Dricus? Dude, I picked old ass Izzy to beat Dricus. So
Yeah, me
like I got
too.
I gotta go with I think probably, right? Because we saw him get tested and rocked and hit so much against Kevin Gastelum and he still came back, right? And then it's gotta be Izzy. It's gotta be Izzy. Like I can't but fuck, dude, imagine if we could like make that happen in some sort of like perfect, immaculate AI simulation. And Dricus still somehow wins. Izzy beats
Yeah,
him 4.5 rounds, and then Dricus wins.
yeah. That's the thing. Like, so when I was thinking about this week, it came down to also Izzy and Anderson Silva for me,
Yeah,
and like they both have very similar styles. They rely on like great instincts and timing and range and picking shots. Izzy is more though of like I feel like doing not like death by a thousand paper cuts, but he definitely does more combination work. It's not like a one punch counter to
yeah,
knock him out, whereas Anderson definitely was more that way. Um, and I do feel like on paper, prime Anderson Silva, prime Izzy should be able to break Drickus. But there's just something about this
yeah,
guy that like
yeah,
he keeps finding ways to win that don't
yeah,
make sense.
yeah.
And I could easily see him like taking down Anderson Silva in the jankiest way possible
Oh,
and
yeah.
just kind of smothering him that way.
Mhm.
I could also see him doing the same thing to Izzy and just like not being phased by like some of the things that Izzy throws at him.
Mhm.
And I like
Yeah,
this one was actually hard for me to think like in my mind and in my heart and soul. Either one of those, Anderson Silva and Israel Adesanya should be able to knock out Dricus Du Plessis in like a highlight way of doing so. But something in the back of my brain just says,
yeah,
no, it's gonna be DDP. Like,
yeah. I do seeing how, like, bad, like, Izzy folded, against Dricus, and then actually going back and watching that Kevin Gastelum fight where, like I mean, his face is mangled at the end of that, and he's gonna get hit clean a ton. Right? Like I think the knockout against Alex Pereira or the TKO might have like broken his chin quite a bit more than we suspected for when he fought DDP. Um, but like I don't it's really weird because I look back at all the champions or like modern champions at middleweight and like okay, Rich Franklin gets washed by DDP. Prime Anderson, I could still see losing to DDP. But then Chris Weidman, dude, Prime Chris Weidman, like I would pick him over DDP. Prime Luke Rockhold, I'd pick him over DDP. Michael Bisping, I wouldn't. Robert Whitaker, I would. Like so many fighters I would pick over him. But then I look at it and I'm like, well, he's beaten Robert Whitaker. He's beaten Israel Adesanya. He beat Sean Strickland. He's beaten the last three champions, and he's beat one of them twice, and he finished the other two.
Yeah.
right? He's about to fight, like, the boogeyman of this division, and he might fucking win against Khamzat Chimaev, like,
Yeah.
if he beats
Imagine if he submits Khamzat Chimaev in, like, the 2nd round. Like,
yeah,
imagine if that happened.
like, regardless of, like, this fantasy matchup style making, when we talk about GOAT, like, we really can only be looking at, like, resume, like, what did you do in this division? Like, how do your
Mhm.
credentials stack up? Like,
Yeah,
if
yeah,
let's say he beats Khamzat,
yeah.
if his run to the title is, um, finishing Robert Whittaker, who, like, basically nobody else does, beating Sean Strickland twice, finishing Israel Adesanya, and then beating, like, the scariest contender in Khamzat Chimaev, resume-wise, where is he on, like, the best middleweight of all time? Is he number 2? Does he knock Izzy off from the number 2 position?
I mean, it it is one of those also where, like, the argument could be made, like, well, he like, some of the ex-champs he fought them after their prime and whatnot, you know? And his
True.
title reign hasn't been as long yet, so longevity is one thing to measure
Mhm.
against. You know, Izzy
Yeah.
was champ for 3 years almost. Yeah, Anderson was champ forever, like,
Yeah.
so
But he
yeah.
wasn't knocking off I guess that's the thing too, is, like, Anderson also wasn't, like, knocking off ex-champs, you know? I mean, he was knocking off a
Well,
few.
there were no other champs.
Yeah.
It
So but
was Rich Franklin that he
yeah,
destroyed twice, so,
yeah.
like
But it is this thing of, like, I don't dude, it's wild. It's wild to think he might have the 2nd best resume
yeah,
at middleweight.
yeah.
Like, that's fucking it's crazy.
I
Anyway,
If we're still talking about
middleweight, man.
DDP as the champion in, like, in 2026 and 2027, I think we
Mhm.
have no choice but to, like, admit that he is one of
Oh,
the
yeah, dude, if he
greatest
beats
fighters.
yeah, let's say he beats, Khamzat, and then
Hamzat.
he fights, yeah, Nasruddin Imavov or Kai Bahalio, um, or he fights, let's say, like, Renier de Ritter beats Robert Whittaker and then has a title shot against Dricus du Plessis would be the jankiest title fight of all time. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
if he beats, like, Khamzat and then, like, 1 or 2 other ones, like, he belongs, like, in the Hall of Fame. Like, that's a fucking Hall of Fame career, man. Like,
yeah.
that's wild.
I know.
Um, middleweight, man. That's where, like, the whole universe, like, folds back in on itself. It's
Yeah, it's
it's
just a
it's just
black hole,
yeah,
man.
what the fuck? Anyway. So, yeah, I think he beats Anderson, but I think Prime Izzy probably
Okay.
can still get him. Yeah.
Alright, alright.
Alright, this is another one. This is gonna be, like, light heavyweight. Let's go to welterweight. There
Yep.
can be only one.
Oh, yeah.
Who is it?
GSP, baby, of course.
Yeah, and would GSP be the champion now?
Hell yes.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah,
Yeah.
brother.
Prime
Uh,
GSP? Yeah, of course.
yeah,
He would be the only matchup that I'd really be interested in is him against Prime GSP versus Shavkat.
that'd be
Like
cool.
that would be an interesting fight.
Is there any champion where if you plopped GSP in, or any champion at welterweight, where you plop GSP in his prime into that division, where you think he wouldn't be able to capture the title?
Mm, Prime GSP against
Be like Robbie Lawler or Kamaru Usman or Tyron Woodley.
maybe Robbie Lawler,
I do
just
that. Yeah,
because the one weakness we've seen with GSP is that, like, he's a little bit, like, taking against power hitters, he struggles with. Like, he's more hesitant, which rightfully so, but also
mhm,
he's been dropped before, and
yeah.
like we saw that with the the Johnny Hendricks fight. Um,
Old Jiminy
when he fought
Hendrix.
Jimi Hendrix, No, we saw that when he fought Johnny Hendricks,
Yeah,
when he fought, Matt Serra,
yeah,
um, and Robbie Lawler is a striker and he is a heavy-handed striker,
yeah,
but GSP also has handled, like, heavy-handed kickboxers like Robbie Lawler before with his incredible takedowns. So
yeah,
that also I could easily see it like, all right, like, this is a heavy-handed fighter. What's gonna happen? And then GSP just, like, power double legs him. I was like, oh, okay. And
yeah.
we're gonna watch this now. Like,
I think that probably would be the most competitive one, but yeah, it could easily turn into that, especially like the GSP
yeah,
that beat BJ Penn and John Fitch. Like
yeah,
that was, yeah, like that dude was unstoppable.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah,
just like John Jones, like basically anyone in any era, like GSP's in his prime, he's got their number. Cool. All right, we move on down to lightweight. So who your
This
lightweight goat? This
this
is a
one
tough
is
one.
tough. This one's really
Yeah.
tough. I want to hear you first. I want to hear who your goat is.
Lightweight goat. I like there are only two that I could really think of. One is Khabib and one is BJ Penn, right? It's got to be
Oh,
one of those
okay,
two.
okay. Really?
Islam
Okay,
Maka
okay.
I think Islam is uh making a good run for it, but
Yeah, yeah.
like it's got to be Khabib or BJ Penn probably. So we know Khabib would never fight Islam. So the question I think that's more interesting is
Well, it's just got
prime.
to be. It's just got to be like if they actually fought, like
Yeah,
not would they be willing or actually contracts or anything like no, like if we put them in a cage and actually like had this like
yeah,
fantasy matchup.
yeah. Well, I don't know because like Islam it was the main training partner for Khabib, and you can
Yeah,
tell in his style, right? Like
yeah,
he's very good at like once somebody plows into the clinch, how do I um, counter that? Whereas Khabib was the guy plowing into the clinch, being like, "I'm going to run you into the wall and take you down."
yeah.
So you can see that like Islam has built a lot of his style to counter the hyper aggressive, hyper athleticism of Khabib. But Khabib also was like the guy, and so and like is still the main coach of Islam. So the question is like they'd probably know who would win in a fight, right? Because I think Islam is technically more skilled and more well-rounded. His striking is better. He
Is
has
what?
better technique.
Yes. Yeah,
But it's like Khabib was the like athletic freak in that team.
yeah.
Um, so I'd probably still pick Khabib over Islam. Um,
Mm,
but the one I find more interesting is like prime BJ Penn versus Islam. I think Islam is probably a little too big. I think it'd probably look like the GSP fight.
yeah.
Because BJ Penn was never actually like a very big 155er. Um, so yeah, I think Islam would
And
probably beat him.
BJ didn't against really strong grapplers, especially those who pressed against the cage. He couldn't do much against them.
I mean, he got a
So
draw against John Fitch at welterweight, right? And John Fitch was a big welterweight and a big smothering grappler, and like
yeah,
BJ Penn, an argument he won that fight. But I think dude, if Alexander Volkanovski, because like even prime BJ against Alexander Volkanovski, I'd pick Alexander Volkanovski.
mhm,
Um, and like Islam beat Alexander Volkanovski like convincingly,
yeah.
even in their first fight. So it's like, yeah, I'd probably pick Islam.
I want to go back to your thoughts on why Islam wouldn't be your goat. Like, yes, Khabib like undefeated, and his run was incredible, and he's like a fucking freak of nature in terms of athleticism. But let me just read off really quickly Islam's last few fights here. Okay, sure, okay, short notice, whatever. Renato Moicano, but submission win. Dustin
Mhm.
Poirier, submission win. Alexander Volkanovski, KO. Alexander Volkanovski, unanimous decision. Charles Oliveira, submission. Bobby Green, TKO. Dan Hooker, submission. Thiago Moises, submission. Drew Dober, submission. Like every one of his last, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 fights. 9 out of the 10 of those are finishes. And the only one he didn't finish was Volk.
Yeah. Khabib only lost Khabib only lost 2 rounds in his entire career. He lost the 3rd
Really?
round to Conor McGregor and the 1st round to Justin Gaethje. Like, there's a level of dominance that he had, which, like, maybe he didn't get the finish on some of these fights, but, like,
That's a
he
wild stat. I did not
yeah.
realize that he only lost 3 fucking
2
rounds.
rounds, 2 rounds.
Oh, 2.
Yeah,
Jesus.
2 rounds. One was in his final fight where he had a broken foot and he had, what, the mumps, like, the week before and, like, a staph infection, and then one was the Conor McGregor fight. Like, yeah, he lost 2 rounds in his entire career.
Wow.
There's just a little something where you go, like, he just was so like, he doesn't have the longevity, right? He only
Yeah.
has a resume built on, like, 3 names, which is Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje. Edson Barbosa is a good one in there as well. Um, but, like, yeah, I've watched Islam in his last 3 fights lose more than 2 rounds,
Yeah,
you
that's
know?
true. Yeah.
So, yeah, I just, like, that's why I think that's why. Like, it could very like, let's say Islam go dude, if Islam goes up and, like, beats the brakes off Jack Della Maddalena, maybe we have an entirely different conversation where, like, this fighter is, like, better. though his resume is now at welterweight. But yeah, like short notice Hanato Moicano and short notice Volk, I'm not as impressed by those victories as I
Right.
was the first Volk one and then the Dustin Poirier one. But like he lost rounds against Dustin. Like he got bloodied, he got beat up. He lost rounds against Volk. And Khabib just like never did. He did 2 times, like
Yeah.
across 30 fights. Like, yeah, that's wild. Um,
Okay.
yeah.
Let me actually pause it because we have kind of a unique situation. So let's go back to welterweight. Now that Islam is a welterweight, and let's say he wins the championship.
Yeah.
I know this is like saying a lot of ifs right now.
Yeah.
Your welterweight goat, GSP versus Islam.
GSP's too big, I think.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Like if they were trying to make that Khabib GSP fight at some point, and I probably would have picked Khabib to do that just because GSP was like what pushing 40,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like old, but like prime GSP versus prime Khabib, like that would have been a really amazing fight. I think GSP's big, right? GSP's large.
He's a
And
big
like
guy.
Khabib and
Yeah.
Islam are big, but I mean neither one of them has a jab like GSP.
Yeah.
Neither one of them has the kicking game like GSP, and like they might be able to out grapple GSP, but like I don't know. That would have been a fascinating fight to watch. Anyway, all right, moving on. Well, there can be only one goat at featherweight,
I I
and that's
I I know who you're gonna say. I
yeah,
know.
it's the king of Hio, and that's fucking Jose Aldo. Like it's true. Um, but I mean, I guess we could match up. Well, we don't have a champion. Oh, we have Alexander Volkanovski here, but let's not do that one. Let's do Topuria because
Oh, okay.
Topuria against the 3 prime kings of this
God.
division, right? Like
Yeah. God,
Prime
that
Taporia, Prime Volk, Prime Taporia, Prime Max, Prime Taporia, Prime uh, Jose Aldo. I don't know. You tell me. How do you think those fights go?
okay. So here's the thing. I thought about this a long time too. I put Volk at higher ranked in my my top 10 rankings. I had him
Mhm,
higher than Jose Aldo.
mhm.
So I guess in that
You
regards,
fool.
he is my featherweight goat, right?
You fool. You fool. Yeah, yeah.
We're not
How dare you
revisit. Don't worry,
disrespect
we're not
Jose?
revisiting that. But
How dare you? We have to do an
God,
episode on Jose. I don't think we've ever done one. Um, yeah, yeah. Um, uh,
but yeah, yeah. I mean, Prime Volk versus I mean current Ilia and Prime Jose. Like, God, you just have such insanity in this. So like let's
mhm.
just break that down really quick. Okay. Ilya. The only thing we know about him right now is like insane punching power.
Yeah.
Supposedly great grappling. We don't fucking know that. But like, like
Well,
we
we
haven't
do.
actually seen it. We haven't actually seen it in play. It's just
Okay.
like we've just heard of that. So what sure. Okay. Volk. Incredible technique, footwork, range, combination work, timing,
Mhm,
great strategies, everything,
mhm,
like a great all-around fighter. Jose Aldo, insane speed, insane head movement,
mhm,
insane dynamic explosiveness with his striking.
mhm.
Like just like leg kicks for days,
Yeah,
you know, hooking and body shots like that just crumble people, you know. I don't know, man. They're all so entertaining, but for
yeah.
such different reasons,
Mhm.
you know? And seeing them match up, I mean, God, I would have loved that. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
I mean, I think what we see is, like, Jose was slightly out of his prime when he lost to Max Holloway, and that was right around the time
Yeah,
Max Holloway entered his prime. Alexander Volkanovski got Max just as he was slipping out of his prime, and he beat him 3 times. And Ilia Topuria got Max and Volk as they were
exiting
exiting
their
their
prime.
primes, and, like, he starched both of them. So,
Yeah.
like, I know MMA math doesn't quite work that way, but, like, Prime Max, I think, would have beaten Jose kind of in the same way that he beat less than Prime Jose. Volk beat less than Prime Max, but I think Prime Volk would have beaten Prime Max in basically the same way. I have to continue that trend and be like, I think Taporia is able to do it to all 3 of them, man. I think
Gosh,
he's the dude.
that's wild.
Yeah. It'll be exciting to see him fight Charles because he's gonna kill Charles, and then we can all cry.
Oh
Um,
god,
yeah,
please.
dude, he's like, if you thought the Max and the Alexander Volkanovski one was brutal, wait till we watch this Charles fight. I have a feeling it's gonna be
I I'm like,
a
yeah,
bloodbath.
I'm so nervous.
Yeah.
Okay,
No,
I
I
gotta.
can't believe this disrespect for Jose Aldo. He still is the GOAT.
I
9
I
fucking
love
years
Jose.
undefeated, man.
I love Jose Aldo, man, but like I can't
You
deny
say
what
you love
Volk has
him,
done.
and then you spit in his eye. That's not what love is, Colin. I'm sorry whoever taught you what love is taught you that it should hurt. It's not right. It's not right.
I got a different question for you though.
Okay.
All right, prime current Ilia
Yeah.
versus prime Connor,
Oh,
two insane heavy hitters.
yeah. I mean, we saw what happens with Prime Connor when it goes past minute 7. He gasses out horribly. I think Ilia, uh, takes him deep and then destroys him.
Oh, you don't think Connor could end it early?
Dude, if
Because
short notice
we've seen
short
Ilia
notice
dropped.
Yeah, that's true. He could, right? There is always that
Yeah,
case with Connor, right? There is 100% always that case. But, like,
yeah.
man, we saw short notice Nate Diaz fucking work him over, right? And then, like, not short notice Nate Diaz coming in with the same game plan, just taking it long and Connor barely squeaking it out. Like,
Mm.
I think Topuria does evil things to him,
All right, all right.
especially at 145 when he's really drained. We never really got to see what his chin was like there. But yeah, like I would pick Ilya. All right, we gotta go fast now because I gotta wrap this up.
All right.
So
Bantamweight.
we got 135. We've got Merab Dvalishvili, and who's your goat for 135, Colin?
You've convinced me. Dom Cruz.
Yeah.
He's the
And what do
goat.
we think? What do we think about Dom Cruz? Prime Dom Cruz, footwork, man, ACL fully intact,
Yeah.
salty as all get out. Against the engine that never stops, the little engine
Yeah.
that could, and that's Merab Dvalishvili. What do we think?
This I think it would be a weird fight. Like
Yeah,
it would be a lot of Dominic Cruz like going around the edges, using his footwork and popping out jabs, and Marab just chasing him down. And could Marab actually get a hold of Dominic Cruz and then take him down? And Dominic Cruz is a great grappler too. So like I don't know. That's the thing. Prime Dominic Cruz was also almost always injured. Like
yeah, that's true.
so
But, like,
that's the thing.
he never was, like, a super striking threat, right? He would set up the striking mostly to get a takedown and then do ground and pound, and, like, we saw how good the takedown defense against Umar Nurmagomedov was, when Merab fought him. So, like, I think it's Merab. I think Merab I mean, even if the fancy footwork keeps you away from Merab the whole time,
Yeah.
you're gonna get tired using that type of footwork as Merab just chases you relentlessly like the Terminator around the cage.
That
Um,
is the thing, yeah. Like, but
yeah.
Donald Cruz did have great cardio, but no one would press him the way Marab would.
Yeah.
So that
No.
that is the unknown.
Yeah, no, there were really in his time, there was never anyone that really weaponized pace in the same
Yeah.
way that like Max Holloway weaponizes pace, Merab Dvalishvili weaponizes pace, like someone that like or like the Diaz
Well,
brothers weaponized pace.
Dominic Cruz was the one to weaponize pace, like just for how much movement and like how he set up things and hit you from angles and timings that like
Yeah,
you weren't expecting. So like,
yeah, yeah. So I don't. I think Merab would take it. He's just such a
yeah.
unique athlete that yeah.
Yeah, that was fair.
And now your favorite
My
flyweight
favorite.
baby,
Oh yeah.
and there's only one goat here. There's
Oh
only
yeah.
one person we can mention, and that's
Mighty
the
Mouse,
Mighty Mouse.
baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mighty Mouse.
Yeah, it's gotta be that. So, what do we think about Prime Mighty Mouse versus the cannibal Alexandre Pantoja?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, what?
DJ would win, of course.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so too.
I think DJ could still give him a run for his money right now.
I think
Like
actually,
like one championship DJ? Yeah, yeah, I think he could.
I think even Prime DJ, it might be a little bit more competitive than I think most people would think. I think Pantoja is so big and physical, and like when DJ fought like Tim
Mm,
Elliott, who was like nowhere near as skilled as Pantoja, but was like really big for the weight class and very physical. It caused issues. Like, the reason
yeah,
he lost to Dom Cruz was not because of, like, speed or cardio or, like, lack of technique. It was
it
just
was
the
just
size and
size.
the
Yeah,
physicality. So I think it would be more challenging than we think, but I think Prime DJ could pull it out,
yeah.
overall. Yeah, yeah. Alright, well, that's it. I mean, we got
Yeah.
so hung up on fucking middleweight. Like, it just there's no way to escape it. It just you enter the event horizon and you can't escape. It's
Yeah.
too powerful. It, yeah, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Yeah. I still posit that the Hamzat Chimaev and, Dricus Du Plessis fight is the most interesting fight this summer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially because of what the white South African genocide or whatever nonsense is
Oh my
going on in
god.
Trump's brain. We'll see if Dricus Du Plessis comes out and mentions that, in the press conference.
Jesus
Um,
Christ. Please,
yeah,
God, help me, no.
stupid shit, yeah. But alright, that was some rumor, that was some discussion, and that was talking about, who we think would win. And it still turns out that the GOATs are still pretty good, and they probably would win.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, and in 2 scenarios, the John Jones and well, 3 scenarios, I guess, with, Demetrius Johnson, GSP, and John Jones, anyone at any time would not be able to withstand prime
Yeah.
versions of them. Like,
Yeah.
they still are the bar that people are trying to clear.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
that just
it'll be
points, like, how far ahead of their generations they were too.
oh, yeah, dude, people in MMA didn't even know what a jab was back then. It's crazy.
People still don't know what a jab is.
Yeah. That's exactly right. Alright, everybody. Well, this has been 2 Fight Fans Podcast. I'm one Fight Fan Stewart,
I'm the other Colin.
and next week, we're gonna talk about oh, no, Macy Barber, Aaron Blanchfield. No, Colin, make it better. Make it stop. Ugh, why do we do this? Why do we do this?
Because
It's
we
for
hate
middleweight. That's
ourselves.
why we do it. No, no, no. It's because we love middleweight. That's why. Um, or maybe we hate ourselves. It's a love hate relationship with middleweight and ourselves. All right, everybody. Bye.
Alright, bye-bye.